Warm golden lights bathed the grand hall in a soft glow, their radiance reflecting off the polished marble floors. Music, a delicate waltz, drifted through the air, mingling with the murmur of polite conversation and the occasional burst of laughter. Millionaire Daniel Carter, his heart overflowing with joy, surveyed the scene, his engagement party, the happiest night of his life. Guests, adorned in glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos, clinked glasses, their eyes drawn to the radiant woman standing beside him. His fiancée, Amara. Her skin, a rich ebony, contrasted beautifully with the shimmering champagne dress she wore. A soft smile played on her lips, and her gentle voice, when she spoke, was like honeyed silk. With one hand, she protectively cradled the gentle swell of her growing baby bump. Daniel couldn't tear his gaze away from her, his heart swelling with a love he never thought possible. After years of heartbreak, the crushing weight of loneliness, and the arduous task of rebuilding his life from the ashes of his past, he finally had something real, someone real. Every guest loved her, every friend embraced her with open arms, and Daniel was certain, with unwavering conviction, that nothing could possibly ruin this perfect night. He was wrong. His past, a specter he thought he had banished forever, was about to crash through the front doors like a violent storm, threatening to shatter the fragile peace he had so carefully constructed. The music slowed, the waltz fading into a softer melody, as Daniel stepped up to the microphone, a warmth spreading through his chest. He gently squeezed Amara's hand, his eyes locking with hers. "You're my future," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'll spend my whole life proving it to you." The crowd collectively sighed, a chorus of ahs rippling through the room. Amara blushed, her fingers tracing circles on her belly, as their baby responded with a gentle kick, a secret shared only between them. But then, the unthinkable happened. The ornate double doors at the entrance slammed open with such force that the crystal chandelier hanging above trembled precariously, casting dancing shadows across the stunned faces of the guests. Gasps filled the room, a wave of hushed whispers replacing the joyous chatter. Every head turned towards the doorway, drawn by the intrusion. A silence descended upon the hall, heavy and oppressive, as if someone had pressed the mute button on the entire world. Daniel's blood ran cold, a primal fear gripping his heart. There, framed in the doorway like a vengeful goddess, stood his ex-wife, Victoria. Her face was a mask of bitterness, contorted with a rage that burned in her eyes. Her dress, a once elegant gown, was torn and disheveled, evidence of her frantic rush. Her heels were scuffed and uneven, and her posture radiated a simmering fury. A security guard, attempting to salvage the situation, tried to block her path, but she shoved him aside with surprising force, her voice a raw, piercing shriek that cut through the silence. "Daniel, you're really doing this?" Amara's hand instinctively moved to her stomach, her eyes widening with alarm as she took a hesitant step back, seeking refuge from the impending confrontation. Daniel, his face hardening with resolve, immediately moved in front of her, shielding her from Victoria's venomous gaze. His jaw tightened, his voice low and controlled. "Victoria, what are you doing here?" A chorus of whispers erupted from the crowd. "Is that his ex-wife? Why is she here? Why does she look so furious?" Victoria, ignoring the murmurs, stomped towards them, her finger, trembling with barely suppressed rage, pointing accusingly at Amara. This is who you replaced me with?" Daniel clenched his jaw, his voice a warning. "You were not invited. Leave before you embarrass yourself further." Victoria let out a broken, furious laugh, a sound devoid of humor and filled with malice. "Oh, I'll embarrass someone, all right?" Before anyone could react, before the bodyguards could intervene, before Daniel could fully block her, Victoria lunged forward with shocking speed, her leg a blur as she kicked Amara in the stomach. A sickening, sharp, echoing impact reverberated through the room, so loud and brutal that a collective scream ripped through the air. Amara gasped, her body folding inward as a wave of excruciating pain shot through her abdomen. She stumbled backward, her hands desperately gripping her belly, shock and fear flooding her senses. Her voice, thin and broken, escaped her lips. "My baby?" Daniel froze, his mind struggling to process the horrifying reality of what had just transpired. Then something inside him snapped. A guttural roar, primal and untamed, erupted from his chest. He surged forward, catching Amara before she could fall to the ground, her face ashen, her breath shallow and ragged, tears streaming down her cheeks. The room erupted in chaos. Guests screamed, their faces etched with horror. A woman fainted, collapsing into the arms of her companion. Someone shouted, "Call an ambulance." The musicians, their instruments clattering to the floor, stared in disbelief. Security guards tackled Victoria, pinning her to the ground as she continued to scream, her voice laced with venom. "You ruined my life. You stole him. You stole everything." Daniel cradled Amara in his arms, his body trembling, his voice choked with emotion. "Stay with me, baby. Stay with me." She gripped his shirt, her nails digging into his skin, tears streaming down her face. "Something's wrong, Daniel. I feel pain, sharp pain." Daniel swallowed his panic, forcing himself to breathe deeply. He gently lifted her into his arms, carrying her bridal style, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. He shouted at the security guards, "Hold her right there. Don't let her move." Security pinned Victoria to the ground, her face contorted with rage. She spat, her voice a venomous hiss. "You'll regret marrying her. She's ruining everything. That baby isn't even yours." The crowd gasped, their whispers turning to murmurs of disbelief. Daniel didn't even glance at her. He didn't care about her accusations, her anger, or her pain. All he cared about was the fragile, trembling woman in his arms and the precious life growing inside her. He carried her out of the hall, guests trailing behind them, their faces a mixture of concern and shock. Amara whispered, her voice barely audible, "Daniel, I'm scared." He kissed her forehead softly, his voice filled with reassurance. "You're safe, sweetheart. I promise nothing will happen to you or our baby. I won't let it." The driver, his face etched with concern, immediately opened the car door, and Daniel gently placed Amara in the back seat, kneeling on the floor beside her. Hold my hand, baby. Breathe for me. I'm right here. Amara held his hand tight, her nails digging into his skin. She whimpered softly, her body racked with pain. The baby. It moved too fast. Daniel's chest ached with fear, a cold dread gripping his heart. The car sped off, tires squealing as they raced towards the hospital. His mind racing, his breath shaky. Victoria's attack had been brutal, intentional, and cruel, and Daniel knew that if anything happened to Amara or the baby, he would never forgive himself for allowing his ex-wife to get anywhere near them. But as the car raced down the street, sirens wailing in the distance, something unexpected happened. Something that defied all logic and reason. Amara suddenly gasped, her body bending forward, her hands clutching her stomach even tighter. Daniel's heart stopped. Is it pain? Is it the baby? Tell me. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Daniel, the baby just kicked. Daniel frowned. It kicked strong. So strong. Like it's okay. Daniel's breath trembled, a flicker of hope igniting in the darkness of his fear. He leaned forward, placing his hand gently on her belly. Then he felt it. A strong, solid kick. Another. His eyes filled with tears, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over him. The baby was fighting, alive, strong, and determined. Amara sobbed with relief, her voice thick with emotion. Daniel, the baby's okay. I feel it. I feel the baby fighting. Daniel placed his forehead against her belly, whispering, thank you, but they weren't safe yet. They needed a doctor. They needed answers. They needed to know the truth. Minutes later, the car screeched to a halt in the hospital driveway. Doctors and nurses rushed out immediately, their faces grim with concern, lifting Amara onto a stretcher. Daniel held her hand until they forced him to let go, their voices firm but gentle. We'll take care of her, sir. Please wait outside. No, I'm not leaving her. Daniel protested, his voice raw with desperation, but they rushed her inside, the emergency room doors closing behind them, leaving Daniel standing alone in the sterile hallway, frozen with fear and uncertainty. His hands shook, tears running silently down his face, his heart racing, his mind a maelstrom of worry and rage. Behind him, his assistant, Mark, ran in, his face pale with concern. Sir, the police arrested Victoria. She's screaming your name. Daniel didn't turn. He didn't want to hear her voice, didn't want to breathe the same air as her. All he cared about was what was happening behind those closed doors. The woman he loved, the baby they had created, his future, his family. Minutes stretched into hours, each second an eternity. Then, finally, a doctor emerged from the emergency room, but his expression was not the one Daniel had expected. It was a mixture of concern and something else, something unreadable. Daniel rushed towards the doctor the moment he stepped into the hallway, his eyes pleading, his voice shaking. Tell me, is she okay? Is the baby okay? Please? The doctor didn't speak right away. He held a chart in his hand, his expression carefully neutral. The nurses behind him whispered softly, watching Daniel with sympathy. Finally, the doctor took a deep breath and said, she is stable, and the baby is safe. Daniel collapsed into a nearby chair, burying his face in his hands, tears of relief falling silently. He didn't care who saw him, didn't care what anyone thought. He whispered, thank you, over and over, breathless with gratitude. But the doctor wasn't finished. He sat beside Daniel and lowered his voice gently. There's something else, sir. Something you need to hear. Daniel straightened slowly, his throat tight. What is it? The doctor hesitated, then spoke carefully. Sir, your fiancé didn't lose consciousness when she came in, which means she heard everything we said. Daniel frowned, unsure what he meant. The doctor continued, sir, the kick she suffered was dangerous, but it didn't affect the baby. In fact, the baby is stronger than average for her stage of pregnancy. Daniel blinked, confused. Stronger? What does that mean? The doctor tapped the chart. It means your baby is further along than she thought. Her pregnancy is not 5 months. It is 7. Daniel froze, the blood draining from his face. He swallowed slowly, then whispered softly. 7 months? Are you sure? The doctor nodded, his expression grave. We triple confirmed. Daniel's heart raced, his mind reeling. 7 months. 7 months. He counted the months silently, his fingers twitching. 1, 2, 3. And then, the realization hit him like a shock wave. A brutal blow to the gut that left him gasping for air. 7 months ago. He and Amara had not even met. Daniel's face drained of color, his hands trembling uncontrollably. His breath grew shallow and ragged. If the baby was 7 months old, then the baby was not his. His heart felt like it had cracked in two, a sharp, agonizing pain searing through his chest. He whispered, barely able to form the words. The baby, it's not mine. The doctor placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, his voice gentle and understanding. Sir, please breathe. This does not change her danger level. She still needs emotional support. She has been crying since the test results came out. She thinks this will break everything. Daniel rubbed his face, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Everything inside him felt heavy and light at the same time. Shock, confusion, pain, love, fear, all twisting together in a chaotic vortex. He stood abruptly, his voice urgent. Where is she? I need to see her now. The doctor nodded, his expression sympathetic. Room 3, sir, but prepare yourself. She is terrified right now. Daniel walked down the hallway slowly, his chest tightening with each step. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled his nostrils, a constant reminder of the precarious situation. When he reached the room, he paused, peering through the small window in the door. Amara sat on the bed, her knees pulled up to her chest, her hands clutching her stomach protectively. Tears streamed down her face, her whole body shaking with silent sobs, her eyes staring blankly at the floor. She whispered over and over, her voice barely audible. I should have told him. I didn't know how. I was scared he would leave me. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know. Daniel swallowed hard, his throat aching with unshed tears. He opened the door, the hinges creaking softly, the sound amplified in the quiet room. Amara looked up instantly, her eyes wide with fear, her face contorted with terror. Daniel, I can explain. Please don't leave me. Please don't walk away. He walked closer slowly, his heart aching at the sight of her distress. Her voice cracked as she spoke, her words tumbling out in a desperate torrent. Daniel, I thought I was 5 months. I thought the dates matched. I didn't lie to you on purpose. I never wanted to trap you. I was scared. I didn't want you to see me differently. I didn't want to lose you. I love you. Please, please don't hate me. She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, her whole body shaking, her voice weak and full of pain. Daniel didn't know what to feel, his emotions a tangled mess of confusion and hurt. But when he saw her break, when he saw her curl over her belly to protect the baby, when he saw her terror and shame, his heart softened, a wave of compassion washing over him. He sat beside her on the bed, gently lifted her chin, and cupped her face in his hands. Amara, look at me. She met his eyes, her tears falling continuously, blurring her vision. He breathed deep, gathering his strength, and whispered, I never loved you because of the baby. I loved you because of you. You healed parts of me I didn't know were broken. You made me believe in family again. You made me smile again. He placed his hand softly on her belly, feeling the gentle swell beneath his palm. This baby, even if it's not mine by blood, is innocent, is part of you. And I will love this child because you are the love of my life. Amara gasped, tears rushing down her face, a mixture of relief and disbelief in her eyes. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing harder. The weight of her secret finally lifted from her shoulders. Daniel held her tight, protecting her, comforting her, whispering softly in her ear. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. You are mine, and this baby is ours in every way that matters. Amara cried into his chest, her voice muffled, whispering, Thank you, thank you, thank you. He kissed her forehead gently, his love for her stronger than the shock, stronger than the truth, stronger than anything they had faced. But then, a knock echoed at the door, shattering the fragile peace they had found. A police officer stepped inside, holding a file in his hand. Sir, you need to hear this. It's about your ex-wife. Daniel nodded, his grip tightening on Amara's hand, a sense of foreboding washing over him. The officer opened the file, his expression serious. Victoria confessed, but she also said something else, something unexpected. Amara looked up, confused, her tears momentarily forgotten. What did she say? The officer paused, his gaze sweeping between Daniel and Amara, then spoke slowly. She told us she saw Amara talking to a man at a cafe 2 months ago. A man she claimed was following her. She believed Amara was hiding something. She acted out of jealousy but also fear. Daniel frowned, his mind racing. Fear? Fear of what? The officer placed a photograph on the table, a blurry image captured by a cafe security camera. Daniel stared at the photograph, his heart pounding in his chest. He recognized the man, a face he thought he would never see again, a ghost from Amara's past. Amara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, her eyes wide with terror. No, 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 no. Daniel looked at her, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and dawning realization. Who is he? Her eyes filled with a primal fear, a terror that chilled him to the bone. Daniel, that man. That's the baby's biological father. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs, his body going numb with shock. The officer continued quietly, his voice devoid of emotion. Sir, we just learned something else. That man is not gone. He's back in the city. Daniel stood, his body shaking with a fury he had never felt before, a rage so intense that it threatened to consume him. If he comes near her or this baby, he whispered, his voice a low, menacing growl, I will end everything for him. Amara grabbed his hand, her voice a terrified plea. Daniel, he's not just back. She swallowed hard, her eyes wide with fear. He's coming for the baby.